So the person who I spent most of my time as a child with was my sister Kate. We would go up to camp for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks running, and Kay and I had to be the best of friends because we were it. So we would do things like string. We got this very heavy tarp, and we had been to sailing class, and we thought if we took this tarp and spread it across and held this little pole up in the air, that the wind would catch this tarp and it would act like a sail and would take us across the lake. This occupied a day. We also built an area behind the first building, the one built in 1924, the old one. We built our own little personal shack that which we called the Promised Land. I think Sally Hubie was involved in that as well, but primarily it was Kay and I. We just built our own little space, and it wasn't a regular thing. That it's nothing real special, but it was special to us. It kept us busy and kept us not fighting. And we spent a lot of time on inner tubes floating around, and we had the Nelsons owned the Pine Point at that time across the way, and they had a boy who was, I think, close to Kay's age. I'm not sure, because I think I was little at that time. Then we also had a raft out there, I think, in the middle that we swam to and laid on. And of course, we always had Air Force planes that would fly over, and they would see two young ladies in the middle of the lake, so they would buzz us. So I was aware of that. Sometimes I have an imagination that's kind of rich. I make up stuff. I don't know. Kay accuses me of that, but just one time she did. So anyway, what there was, and there still is, hopefully it's still there, is that there is on the way to the lake a swing that had a roof on it, and it had underneath this swing, the swings had things that held it up, of course, and it was a long swing, and back behind the swing. I need my sister to sketch all these things. They're more just for reference. You can see where they are. There's sand underneath there. My dad made me paint that swing red every year for the longest time. It was like it would occupy me, and he wanted me to use enamel, so I would get red paint all over me, and I would have to work very hard. After my dad was gone, I took it in one year, and I could afford to have it totally stripped, and that's how it got to be now shellacked in wood. But behind there was a sign that said, no refuse. Now, like I mentioned in the beginning chapter when we talked about where to hide in tornadoes and stuff, I mentioned the new building had steps that ran to a refuse pit. And so we have rules that we don't ever leave anything behind. So we carry our garbage out with us, but we had refuse pit. But over here, where the swamp was, behind the swampish area, because it is, after all, what they call a cranberry bog lake behind over here. So just to the right of the path in there, people might be tempted, even though there's lady slip or orchid comes every 7 years, will grow in there. Jean, when she spent time there, built a little guard for her cat, little perch for her cats to sit on and be able to watch everything. Then we had a fish cleaner, a place for scraping and cleaning the fish over here on the path too. And this is where the gazebo and lake are. But there was a sign behind the swing that said, "No refuse, no refuse." See, notice that's one of the weird words that's spelled the same but has two different meanings, and it's pronounced differently. It's like no refuse, like no trash. You don't throw any trash in that area. Don't be tempted because it's swamp. I've never seen anybody throw trash in there, but my grandfather was real big on signs. And so it had a sign that said no refuse. But it also said no refuse, depending on how you sing. So my sister and I, as we were packing up camp, would grab my dad's hand and take him over to the swing. And we'd say, "Daddy, can we please have an ice cream cone or stop for root beer when we go to town?" And he would start to say, "No, we can't afford that," or whatever. But we'd point to the sign that said, It says, "No refuse, don't refuse us." So Kay and I had lots of fun in this place. This path still leads to the gazebo, and hopefully the gazebo is still standing for a long time to come. It's best to, one time that was where my mother spent all of her time reading when she wasn't cooking. She spent a great deal of time up there reading and looking at the lake, and she also wanted to watch us kids, so that we were down in the lake and she would, keep watch over us. And she liked the gazebo, and so I had the lumberyard put together all the step risers, and I put new risers because they were very narrow, and I was worried about my mother as she got older getting up on that, so I made her, had developed steps that were wider tread and easier for her to get into in the gazebo. I've painted some things in the gazebo. As you're looking, and they might still be there, little remnants of me painting on wood. When I was bored, I did that. It had benches down there. Used to have a lot of fun times in that little gazebo. One of the times when I was in college, part of the reason I chose not to accept some of the outstanding scholarships I had is that I wanted to be close to my parents because they were getting pretty older. They were not as old as I am now, but I was very concerned about my parents' health, and so I didn't want to go too far away. They were about my age now. And my mother had a heart attack, and they took lots of medicine. So anyway, I wanted to go where I was closer to camp, so I could enjoy camp during the weekends. And so I would take some friends out there, and one of the things that we did is that we would go out to the gazebo, marked with crystal. There used to be crystal glasses in the cupboards there until somebody removed them, not me. But we would fill them with water, parts of water, and they would make noises and sing and get all we would stay out there late at night and get the frogs singing for us, and watch the moon come up and all that good stuff. Great number of friends. We had a great deal of good times in that gazebo. Again, it's another place that's really fun to sleep in. Some people have been known to sleep there.